Hello friends, this video is created by Siddharth Upadhyay, founder and creator of PrepWings. Log on to www.prepwings.com for complete free course videos. Okay, in this video we'll cover the weaken question. So in a weaken question, a student needs to find an option that, if true, helps reject the idea presented in an argument. So for a weaken question, the student first needs to find out the assumption of the argument. We have already covered how to find an assumption in the video titled Assumption. Okay, you can go through that video. So for the weaken question, after we find out the assumption, any option that will make the assumption to be false will weaken the argument. Okay. So steps to follow for a weaken question are: first we find out the conclusion of the argument. Then we find out the premise for the conclusion. Finding out the conclusion and the premise will help us find out the assumption of the argument. Once we know the assumption of the argument, then we will look at the option that makes the assumption to be false. Okay, that answer option will be the correct answer option for a weaken question. Okay, we will now look at an example. So question here says that city A and city B are in close proximity to each other and have similar road structure, almost same number of households and almost same number of inhabitants. City A's average number of cars per household is more than city B's average number of cars per household. Thus, traffic congestion in city A must be more than the traffic congestion in city B. Okay. Which of the following, if true, will weaken the argument above? This is the question presented to us. Now the 5 answer options are: option A says city A has more cars than that in city B. Option B says people in city A mostly work from home. Option C says traffic control is one of the most important tasks of the local administration. Option D says people in city A try to carpool while going to office. Option E says number of buses is the main reason for traffic congestion in cities A and B, and city B has 3 times as many buses than that in city A. Okay, so these are the 5 answer options. Now if you look at the argument, the conclusion or the main idea of the argument is that traffic congestion in city A must be more than the traffic congestion in city B. Okay, and the premise or the reason for the conclusion is that city A's average number of cars per household is more than city B's average number of cars per household, and cities A and B are very similar. Okay, because they have the similar road structure, almost the same number of household and almost the same number of inhabitants. Okay, so cities A and B are very similar, and city A has basically more cars than that in city B. Okay, so this is the reason for the conclusion. So our assumption will be then that cars are the primary reason for traffic congestion in cities A and B. This is our assumption. So now to weaken the argument, the weaken option should be basically opposite of the assumption. Okay, it should make the assumption to be false. Okay, so our assumption is saying that cars are the primary reason for traffic congestion in cities A and B. So anything that makes this false will be the correct answer option for our weaken question. Okay. So now looking at the options, option E says number of buses is the main reason for traffic congestion in cities A and B, and city B has 3 times as many buses than that in city A. Okay. So if you look at option E, this is basically proving our assumption to be wrong, because our assumption said that cars are the main reason for traffic congestion, and option E is saying that buses are the main reason for traffic congestion, and city B has basically 3 times as many buses than city A. Okay, so that is why this is the correct answer option. Alright, so just to do a recap, in a weaken question, first we'll find out the assumption using the conclusion and the premise. After we get the assumption, any option that makes the assumption to be false will weaken the argument. Okay, so this is how we approach a weaken question. Thanks a lot for watching this video.